happiness. Happiness can be defined in so many ways, and I think if anybody is trying to work out what happiness is, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, I think you need to take 2 minutes time out and ask yourself that question. I think every individual can define their own happiness, because you see, my happiness and my definition of what that happiness looks like and how and what form it comes in may not necessarily be in the same way as the way you regard happiness. So, for example, my happiness includes me having good health. It's absolutely critical for my happiness to have the right people around me. It's incumbent that I make sure as often as I can I get away from all the craziness and madness around me and get a bit of respite. And these are the sort of things that define my happiness. Now, if the next person is comparing what I deem happiness and try to sort of bring it over to their world and try to mimic the same happiness, not only is it going to be short lived, but secondly, it's not going to get you any happiness. And then the individuals who try to mimic your happiness can get frustrated, get angry, and vent out at you, i.e., is me, because that happiness isn't giving them their sense of feeling that they were expecting based on my impression, my reaction. So there's a couple of things I wanted to mention in this clip. Number one, please, please, please go away and think about what makes you happy and do those things and do those regularly. Do it consistently, even if it's in small chunks, do it as often as you possibly can. Number two, if somebody around you is envious of what you define as your happiness, you have to ignore it, just like I ignore it. It's negative energy that we can all do without. Thirdly, don't compare your happiness to others. And I completely understand, and it's absolutely human for us to slowly get into that sort of mindset where you can't help but compare what you're doing versus somebody else that who you might wish you were, having a similar level of happiness to. Fourthly, if you're unable to identify what your happiness is, start talking to people who really know you and think about let them help you drill out those things that make you feel good about yourself. And lastly, don't let anybody else define what your happiness is. If my happiness is laughing a lot, because that's what I do, right? Then so be it. If somebody else got a problem, as long as you're not being disrespectful and you're not harming them anyway, you have to ignore it. The moment you let somebody define what your happiness is, or let somebody come in and trample all over that, then you're not going to be a happy person yourself. So please, please, please bear that in mind. Don't let anybody define your happiness, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like. And that those things that make you happy can change over a period of time. So go back and look at what it is every so often, so your happiness can reflect your current status and where you are at in terms of your goals and what you're achieving.